Hi everyone! Image Analysis 3 focuses on economic globalization, and this one is a twofer. We've got two really great images that bring up two aspects of discussions about economic globalization. The first one is about the massive global inequity that we see in terms of different types of economies. So we, within the United States, know that we have a tremendous level of inequality. We've seen a very significant decline in the middle class, even though people tend to think that they're in the middle class. We have a lot of cultural tropes that support the idea that we want to be in the middle class. This includes the idea that if you're middle class, you're a hard worker, but you're not someone who has been born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It avoids a lot of the very terrible stereotypes that we have about people who are poor, namely that they are supposedly lazy, and it has to do with our perception. We can always point to someone who has more than us and someone who has less than us. But this overall trend of increasing inequality is something that we see not just within the United States, but also across the entire world. So if you look at this image, we have, yes, some increase in incomes in emerging economies, but notice that we have just as high of an increase in the incomes of those in the global elite. And you can see that we have a tremendous decline in the developed world middle class. And so that's what we're getting at here is this overall trend of increasing inequality. Our second image for this week has to do with the concepts of outsourcing and offshoring. So a quick explanation of the difference between these two terms, because sometimes we use outsourcing to refer to all of these things. So outsourcing just means that someone else is doing the work that we might have been doing before. So maybe I have a t-shirt printing business and I decide that I've got too much business and I want to outsource. To Mexico and having the printing done there, and then I'm selling the t-shirts here in San Diego. So this is a screenshot from an NPR article that's about a perhaps very creative use of outsourcing. And in this case, the outsourcing is in fact offshoring. We have a person who's in the United States who earns a pretty steep wage. We can see here that the person was earning a six-figure salary. And this individual decides to take their job and offshore it to someone who's in China. So the person in the US has a job that we would consider to be in the IT or information technology sector. This is a job that involves using computers, that often requires a college degree. And the person realized that they had things that they would prefer to do with their time. If you look at the full article, which is in the related links folder, some of their activities end up being very interesting, including spending multiple hours every day watching cat videos on the internet. So they weren't necessarily offshoring to spend more time developing creative solutions, but definitely ended up increasing their leisure time, which, hey, is maybe a wonderful thing, right? So this ends up really bringing up the pros and cons of outsourcing and offshoring. In some ways, we could call this a win-win. We've got a person who is in the US who now has a whole bunch more free time, and they're still making enough money for them to get by. We've also got a person in China who now has a job that ostensibly they didn't have before, and for them, perhaps they're making decent wages. Now, the contrary argument to this is that this is exploitative, that we've got someone who here has this kind of surplus income, they're being paid to do a job that they're no longer doing, and they're only able to do this, to make this profit, by exploiting the worker who's in China. So think a little bit about, how you might view a situation like this. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? How do you view the, newfound occupation of cat video watcher? All right, everyone. Hope you're having an awesome week. I will see you all online.